Part 1. You will hear a woman asking about joining community activities in the town she has recently moved to. First, you have some time to look at questions 1 to 7. Now listen carefully and answer questions 1 to 7. Hello, Martin Green speaking.
Hello, my name's Lucy Hall. I've just moved to Brickley and I'm interested in getting involved with community activities. I was told you might be the right person to contact.
Yes, I coordinate most of the local volunteer programs. What sort of activities are you interested in?
Well, I enjoy reading and working with children.
In that case, you might like to help in the community library. We often need people to organise the returned books and keep the shelves tidy.
That sounds good.
Another thing is recording the new books we receive. At the moment, we use a computer database to keep our records up to date.
That wouldn't be a problem. I've used computers a lot in my previous job.
Good. The library itself is quite small. It's actually in the east room of the town hall. You'll see it on the right-hand side as you go in.
Oh, I walked past the building yesterday. I didn't realise the library was inside.
Yes, a lot of people don't. Now, another area we always need help with is the lunch club for elderly residents.
I'm happy to help. What would I do there?
Well, transport is always a problem. If you could give lifts, that would be very useful.
I've got a car, so yes.
Excellent. We also have hobby groups that run after lunch. At the moment, we particularly need helpers for the gardening group.
I love plants, so I'd enjoy that.
Great. And sometimes we get one-off requests from residents. For example, Mrs. Ellis needs someone to take her to the clinic next Thursday. Would you be free?
Yes, I could do that.
Thank you. And another man, Mr. Brown, needs help with his fence in the back garden. If you could spare an afternoon, that would be ideal.
I'd be happy to.
Before you hear the rest of the conversation, you have some time to look at questions 8 to 10. Now listen and answer questions 8 to 10. The volunteers group also arranges social events every month. They're a great way to meet new people.
That's good to know.
The next event is on the 14th of September. It'll be a quiz night in the town hall. We need people to bring along some refreshments like cakes or biscuits.
I can definitely do that.
Then, on the 20th of October, we're organising a concert. A local jazz band is performing also in the town hall. What we really need is someone to help collect tickets at the entrance.
I'd be happy with that.
Finally, there's the Christmas fair on the 12th of December. This will be in the community centre. We've put stalls, but we don't yet have anyone to design a poster, which you would interest in.
Actually, yes, I studied graphic design, so that's perfect.
Wonderful. I'll send you the details later today. That is the end of part 1. You now have half a minute to check your answers to part 1.
Part 2. You will hear a guide at a tourist attraction called Brookfield Castle talking to a group of visitors. First, you have some time to look at questions 11 to 14. Now listen carefully and answer questions 11 to 14.
Good afternoon, everyone, and welcome to Brookfield Castle. My name's Helen, and I'll be showing you around today. While you're seated here in the courtyard, I'll give you a short introduction, and then we'll begin the tour. The castle dates back to the 12th century, though it has changed a great deal over time. The original wooden fort was rebuilt in stone by Lord William Brooke, who gave his name to the place. Later owners added new towers, extended the Great Hall, and created the landscaped gardens you'll see later. The castle has survived several battles, a fire in the 17th century, and even a period of complete abandonment before it was restored in the 19th century. One of the most famous owners was Lady Catherine Brooke in the 1500s. Unlike many aristocrats of her time, she was passionate about science and education. She invited scholars, astronomers, and musicians to live and work here. Records show that she built an observatory in the North Tower, which was extremely unusual for that period. Moving on to life in the castle, you'll notice that servants played a central role. We tried to bring their world to life. As you walk through the kitchens and the laundry rooms, you'll meet volunteers in costume, performing tasks as servants would have done 500 years ago. They'll explain how meals were prepared, how clothes were washed, and how food was stored. For children, there are plenty of activities. They can try on armor and helmets, play medieval games in the courtyard, and explore our new maze, which opened last year. The maze has been a real favorite with families.
Before you hear the rest of the talk, you have some time to look at questions 15 to 20. Now listen and answer questions 15 to 20.
Right. Now let me explain what you'll find in the grounds and outbuildings. The stables are our first stop. Horses are no longer kept there, of course, but you'll find a collection of carriages, some of them over 200 years old. You can even step inside one to imagine what travel was like in the past. Next to the stables is the granary, a large stone building where grain used to be stored. Today, it houses our cafe, which serves lunch, snacks, and traditional cakes throughout the day. At the far end of the courtyard stands the armory. This is where weapons were once kept, but it now contains a fascinating display of swords, shields, and suits of armor. Children especially enjoy trying on the lighter pieces of equipment. The West Garden is particularly attractive. It's been replanted in the original Tudor style with herbs, roses, and fountains. It's also home to several rare breeds of birds that we're helping to protect. If you walk towards the south field, you'll come to the barn. This is where you can watch demonstrations of traditional crafts like blacksmithing and pottery. Volunteers will show you how tools were made and how clay pots were shaped. Finally, we'll end our tour by the lake, which was created in the 18th century to make the castle grounds more picturesque. It's now a peaceful spot where visitors can take a boat trip or simply enjoy the view of the castle reflected in the water. All right, that's the overview. Please stay with the group and we'll begin the tour.
That is the end of Part 2. You now have half a minute to check your answers to Part 2.
Part 3. You will hear two environmental study students discussing a field trip to a national park. First, you have some time to look at questions 21 and 22. Now, listen carefully and answer questions 21 to 22.
Did you take notes during the field trip to Green Valley National Park, or were you too busy looking around?
I tried, but it was hard. I ended up writing down just a few points afterwards.
Same here. I want to check a few things for our assignment. What do you think we should include in the report?
Well, not a description of the whole day. Everyone knows what a national park is. I think we should focus on how effective the park is in terms of conservation.
Right. And I suppose we need to give our personal reactions, too, like how the visit affected our understanding of environmental issues.
Yes, definitely. We should also mention specific examples from the visit, like the guided tour of the wetlands or the talk on endangered birds.
Good point. That will make our report stronger.
Before you hear the rest of the discussion, you have some time to look at questions 23 to 30. Now listen and answer questions 23 to 30.
So, what did you think about the visitor center itself?
I thought the displays were excellent. That was the most memorable part for me.
I agree, though I've seen similar displays in other parks.
True. And what about the guided walk through the forest?
Honestly, it was too rushed. We didn't have enough time to stop and take in the details.
I didn't mind the pace. I just found it difficult to hear the guide because the group was so large.
Fair enough. What did you think of the talk on birds?
It was interesting, but the speaker used too many scientific terms. I felt a bit lost.
Same. They should have simplified it for students.
The wetland area was beautiful, though. That was a real highlight.
Yes, especially the way the boardwalk allowed us to get close to the wildlife.
And the transport arrangements.
Oh, that was a problem. The bus was late and the seats were uncomfortable.
Exactly. That part needs improving. Still, overall, it was a valuable experience. I understand much more now about the challenges of managing conservation areas.
Same here. It shows how important it is to balance tourism with protecting habitats.
That is the end of Part 3. You now have half a minute to check your answers to Part 3.
Part 4. You will hear a lecture on a geography course about the Amazon rainforest. First, you have some time to look at questions 31 to 40. Now listen carefully and answer questions 31 to 40.
Right, let's begin. Today we are going to look at the Amazon rainforest, which is often described as the lungs of the earth. It is the largest tropical rainforest in the world, covering an area of about 5.5 million square kilometers. It spreads across 9 countries in South America, but the majority of it, almost 60%, lies within Brazil. The Amazon is home to an extraordinary variety of species. Scientists estimate that about 10% of all the world's known species live there. What makes it even more fascinating is that new plants and animals are being discovered every year. So, although it is already extremely diverse, the full number of species is still unknown. Now, let's think about the role of the rainforest in regulating the climate. The Amazon absorbs huge amounts of carbon dioxide and produces oxygen, which is why it is often called the lungs of the earth. It also plays a vital part in controlling rainfall patterns not only in South America, but also globally. However, the rainforest is under severe threat. The biggest danger comes from deforestation, mainly due to cattle ranching and the expansion of soya plantations. In some areas, whole sections of forest have been cleared to create space for agriculture. Another issue is illegal logging, where valuable trees are cut down and sold for timber. These activities have many consequences. Firstly, they reduce biodiversity, which means species may become endangered or even extinct. Secondly, they contribute to climate change because trees that once absorbed carbon dioxide are no longer there. And thirdly, they have a damaging effect on local communities, especially indigenous groups who rely on the forest for their food, medicine, and cultural traditions. What is being done to protect the Amazon? Well, governments have introduced laws to limit deforestation, though enforcement is often difficult. International organizations and charities are also supporting conservation projects, such as replanting trees and protecting wildlife reserves. In addition, ecotourism has been encouraged as it provides income for local people without destroying the forest. In conclusion, the Amazon is a vital resource for the whole planet, not just for South America. Protecting it requires cooperation at local, national, and global levels. Unless stronger action is taken, the rainforest may face irreversible damage within the next couple of decades.
That is the end of Part 4. You now have 1 minute to check your answers to Part 4.